It was a moment no one expected, not even those who had spent their lives behind palace walls. Windsor Castle, with its centuries of history and quiet dignity, held its breath. Inside the grand yet somber room, the royal family gathered, unaware that what was about to unfold would shake them in ways they hadn't felt in decades. Princess Anne, composed as always, stood at the center, not where she usually would have been. Her presence alone signaled something unusual, but it was her words that would change everything. King Charles had asked her to speak, not him, not from his throne, not with ceremony or tradition. He had chosen his sister, the most grounded, the most direct, to deliver a message that would ripple through the monarchy like thunder across a silent sky. And when she finally spoke, the weight of her words settled over the room like winter fog. Prince William, long accustomed to the slow, inevitable march toward kingship, sat frozen. His father's health had been declining, yes, but this was different. Beside him, Prince Harry shifted uncomfortably. Something in the air had changed. No cameras rolled, no reporters listened, only family. And yet what was said that day would echo far beyond those walls. Because Princess Anne wasn't just delivering news, she was revealing the king's final wish, one that would stun both princes and set the stage for what could become the most dramatic transition in modern royal history. Windsor Castle has always been more than just a royal residence. It's a fortress of tradition, history, and quiet authority. But on this particular day, the air inside those ancient stone walls carried something heavier than usual. It wasn't just the weight of history, it was the tension of the present. This was no ordinary family gathering, no cameras, no press, no carefully rehearsed statements. Just the royal family, seated in a circle that should have symbolized unity, but instead revealed how far apart they had become. Princess Anne stood at the center, not where she usually would. Her presence alone signaled that this was serious. King Charles, who for decades had presided over such meetings with quiet dignity, remained silent. He had chosen to let his sister speak for him, a decision that broke from royal custom and sent an unspoken message. This was not just about duty, it was personal. Prince Harry arrived alone. Meghan wasn't by his side. That absence spoke volumes. Those closest to the family say the silence that followed his entrance was almost unbearable. Even the staff could feel it, a pressure building beneath the surface, threatening to break. Conversations were hushed, glances exchanged like coded messages. Everyone knew this meeting was different. The seating itself told a story. William sat poised, ever the future king. Harry, slightly apart, carried himself with the weariness of someone caught between two worlds. And in the middle of it all was Princess Anne, steady, composed, and ready to deliver a message that would shake them all. Tradition had always dictated how these moments unfolded, but today nothing felt traditional. Today everything was changing. The room was still. Not the kind of stillness that comes from silence, but the kind that settles after a storm has passed. Heavy, expectant, and charged with something unspoken yet deeply felt. Princess Anne stood at the center, her posture firm, her gaze steady. She had been chosen for this moment not because she was next in line, but because she could deliver hard truths without flinching. She cleared her throat and every head turned toward her. There were no formalities, no royal pleasantries, just a directness that only she could offer. "My brother," she began, "has made a decision that must be honored. He believes the monarchy must evolve, and it must do so now." A murmur rippled through the room. But it was what came next that sent a shockwave through the family. King Charles did not want to wait years before passing the crown to William. He wanted the transition accelerated, not just symbolically but officially. Within months, perhaps even less, the full weight of kingship would rest on William's shoulders. Prince William sat frozen, his jaw tightening as he absorbed the enormity of what had just been said. His father had always seemed like an eternal figure, a constant presence in the shifting tides of royal life. But now that certainty had been stripped away. The throne wasn't a distant inheritance anymore. It was real, immediate, and suddenly terrifyingly close. Beside him, Prince Harry shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His expression was unreadable, but those closest to him say his mind raced. This wasn't just about succession, it was about legacy, about change, about what kind of monarchy William would inherit, and whether there would be any place left in it for those who had already walked away. Anne continued, her voice unwavering. His is not about abdication, it is about preparation. My brother understands time is not guaranteed. He wants to ensure the monarchy survives, not as it was, but as it must become. She spoke of reforms, bold, unprecedented steps that would redefine the institution itself. Fewer working royals, greater transparency, a monarchy that engaged with the public rather than simply observing from above. It was clear this wasn't just a changing of the guard, it was a reinvention. And in that moment, everyone in the room understood nothing would be the same again. King Charles's health had been a growing concern for some time. Whispers in the corridors of Windsor, quiet conversations behind closed doors, and medical teams always on standby. But what many didn't realize was just how deeply he felt the weight of time pressing down on him. This wasn't just about duty anymore. It was about survival, not just his own, but that of the monarchy itself. He had seen it before, the slow decline of a monarch who held on too long. His mother, Queen Elizabeth II, reigned for 7 decades, a symbol of stability and endurance. But even she had struggled with the physical toll of leadership in her final years. Charles knew history could repeat itself, and he wasn't willing to let that happen. But there was more to it than just health. The monarchy was under pressure like never before. Public support had been slipping, especially among younger generations. Scandals, both old and new, had shaken trust, and then there was the rift between his sons, a family fracture that had played out on the world stage, fueling speculation, headlines, and doubt. Charles understood something most didn't: the crown couldn't afford to wait. If William was going to take over, he needed to do it while there was still time to prepare. Not years from now, not after a long illness, but soon, very soon. And so, behind palace walls, the king began planning a transition unlike any other in modern royal history. He didn't want a drawn-out handover, he wanted urgency, clarity, a monarchy that could move forward without hesitation or uncertainty. This decision wasn't made lightly. He spent sleepless nights weighing the consequences. He spoke only to those he trusted most, Princess Anne chief among them. She understood the stakes, she knew how dangerous it was to leave things to chance, and she knew that if anyone could deliver this message with clarity and strength, it was her. The plan wasn't just about succession, it was about reform. Charles had no illusions. The monarchy couldn't survive as it once was, it had to change. And he wanted to make sure that when William took the throne, he wouldn't inherit the same rigid institution his mother left behind. He wanted transparency, fewer royals, greater public access, financial openness. Ideas that would have been unthinkable in previous generations were now being placed on the table as necessities. For William, this was more than just a shift in power, it was a complete transformation of what he was preparing to lead. The monarchy he would inherit wouldn't be defined by parades and palaces, it would be defined by relevance, resilience, and reinvention. And for Harry, watching from the sidelines, it was a reminder of everything he had walked away from and everything he might never be part of again. Time was running out, for all of them. The room was silent, but inside each of them the storm had already begun. Prince William sat motionless, his face unreadable, but those closest to him say his mind was racing. He had spent his entire life preparing for this moment, not just the crown, but the weight it carried. And yet nothing had prepared him for the speed of it. The throne wasn't years away anymore. It was months, maybe even less. That alone would have been enough to unsettle any man. But what truly unsettled him was the deeper implication of what Princess Anne had said. This wasn't just about succession, it was about change. Big change. The monarchy he was set to inherit wouldn't be the one his father ruled, or the one his grandmother held together with grace and quiet strength. This would be a monarchy stripped down, redefined, reshaped by urgency and survival, and at its heart, a family still fractured. Beside him, Prince Harry shifted in his seat. His expression betrayed little, but those who know him best say he felt something sharp in that moment, like a door had just closed a little tighter on the life he once knew. He had walked away from royal duties, yes, but hearing the future laid out so clearly, so suddenly, made it feel more final than ever before. For William, this was a call to duty. For Harry, it was a reminder of how far he had stepped outside of it. The silence between them spoke volumes. They had once been inseparable brothers, chasing each other through palace halls, standing side by side during the darkest moments of their lives. Now they were two men on opposite sides of a shifting monarchy, bound by blood but divided by choice. William, ever the heir, understood what was being asked of him. His father wasn't just passing the crown, he was asking him to lead a transformation, a modern monarchy, fewer royals, more transparency, less ceremony, more substance. It was a daunting task, but he accepted it. Because that's what kings did. They didn't run from responsibility, they embraced it. Harry, however, saw something else in the message, not just transition, but exclusion. His name hadn't been mentioned, not in the plans, not in the reforms, and maybe that was the point. Maybe this was the monarchy moving forward without him. He told close friends later that night, "It felt like watching my own funeral." But neither brother spoke, not then, not yet. Because in that moment, they both understood something unspoken: the past couldn't be undone. The future was already here, and whether they liked it or not, everything was about to change. No royal family is immune to conflict, but few rifts have been as public, as painful, or as damaging as the one between Prince William and Harry. Once inseparable brothers, chasing each other through palace halls, standing side by side during some of life's most difficult moments, their bond has fractured under the weight of personal grievances, media scrutiny, and sharply differing visions for their futures. What began as quiet tension has grown into a divide that not only affects them personally, but threatens the very stability of the monarchy itself. The origins of the rift are complex. Years of intense media attention placed pressure on both men, but it was Harry who ultimately decided to step away from royal duties alongside his wife, Meghan Markle. That move shocked the world and sent ripples through the monarchy like nothing before. Interviews, memoirs, and public statements only deepened the divide, exposing raw emotions and unresolved tensions that neither brother has fully addressed face to face. For William, Harry's departure felt like more than just a personal choice. It felt like a betrayal. As the future king, William has taken on more responsibility, determined to uphold the monarchy's traditions and ensure its survival in an increasingly skeptical world. He believes in duty, in sacrifice, in showing up, even when the spotlight burns too bright. Harry, on the other hand, has sought a new identity outside the palace walls. He has prioritized personal freedom, mental health, and a life away from the suffocating glare of the press. His interviews and public appearances have painted a picture of someone who feels misunderstood, unfairly treated, and emotionally wounded. This isn't just about two brothers anymore. It's about what kind of monarchy William will inherit, and whether there will be room in it for those who have already walked away. Kate Middleton, ever the voice of reason, reportedly understands both sides. After Harry's recent bombshell interview, where he expressed a desire to reconcile, she urged her husband to reach out, to find a way forward. She knows the royal family can't afford any more scandals, any more tragedies, and she also knows that healing begins with conversation, but reconciliation is easier said than done. Pride, pain, and years of silence have hardened the distance between them. Princess Anne, known for her honesty and respected by both, tried to deliver King Charles's final wish, that his sons find a way back to each other before time runs out. Still, even she wasn't sure it could happen, because this isn't just a family feud, it's a test of loyalty, of leadership, and of the monarchy itself. And if William and Harry can't find common ground, the consequences may extend far beyond their bloodline. In a family built on centuries of tradition, duty, and quiet endurance, it's easy to overlook the ones who bring warmth, stability, and emotional depth. But in recent years, one figure has quietly become the heart of the royal family, Kate Middleton. She never sought the spotlight, yet she's handled it with grace, poise, and an unshakable sense of purpose. Unlike many before her, she didn't just step into the role, she reshaped it, bringing a touch of modernity without ever breaking from royal decorum. Kate's strength lies in her ability to remain grounded, even as the world around her shifts unpredictably. She's seen the palace change, felt the pressures grow, and witnessed the growing divide between William and Harry. And more than anyone else, she understands what's at stake, not just for the monarchy, but for the family itself. Her bond with both princes is different. With William, it's partnership and shared responsibility. With Harry, it's understanding and quiet empathy. She's never taken sides publicly, but those close to her say she's been a calming presence during some of the most difficult moments. After Harry's recent interview where he expressed a desire to reconcile, it was Kate who reportedly urged William to consider reaching out. She knows better than most that the monarchy isn't just about crowns and ceremonies. It's about people, about relationships, about love, loyalty, and forgiveness. Even within the palace walls, where emotions are often kept behind closed doors, Kate has found a way to be emotionally present, especially with her children. Her warmth with Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis speaks volumes about the kind of future she envisions, one rooted in family, compassion, and quiet resilience. And perhaps that's why, despite all the chaos, she remains the one constant, the one who holds things together when everything else feels like it's slipping away. Because while titles may fade and history may shift, the true power of the monarchy doesn't lie in protocol or prestige. It lies in the bonds that hold its people together. And in that, Kate has quietly become its strongest link. Behind every crown lies a man, and behind every king, a father. King Charles has spent his life shouldering the weight of history, duty, and expectation. But in the quiet moments, when the palace is still and the world outside fades away, it's not the throne that haunts him. It's the silence between his sons. His final wish isn't about power or legacy. It's deeply personal. He wants reconciliation, not for politics, not for public image, for family. Those closest to him say he often returns to old photo albums late at night, pages filled with memories of William and Harry as boys, laughing together, chasing each other through palace halls, arms around each other's shoulders. Back then, before the cameras, before the headlines, they were just brothers, unbreakable. Now, decades later, the distance between them feels wider than ever, and Charles knows time is slipping away. He doesn't dream of bringing Harry back into royal life. That ship has sailed. But he does dream of something simpler, something smaller, yet infinitely more meaningful. One last conversation. A moment where pride gives way to honesty, where pain softens, even if only for a while. Because for all the titles, for all the ceremony, what remains most sacred to Charles is not the monarchy itself, but the fragile human bonds that hold it together. When direct communication became too painful, too complicated, he turned to trusted intermediaries. People who could carry his words without inflaming old wounds. Princess Anne was among them, chosen not just for her closeness to both brothers, but for her ability to speak truth without pretense. In a private gathering at Windsor, she voiced her brother's deepest hope. Charles believes the monarchy must evolve, she said, but so must its people. She didn't sugarcoat it. She never does. She reminded them that this wasn't just about healing for the sake of tradition. It was about love, about the simple, undeniable truth that no institution, no matter how grand, can survive if its own family can't stand together. Still, even Anne knew it wouldn't be easy. The rift had grown deep. Pride, pain, and years of silence had hardened the distance. And yet Charles didn't give up. Because to him, family isn't just a choice, it's a duty, one that doesn't disappear, no matter how far apart life may pull you. He once told a close aide, "I've lived long enough to know that titles fade, crowns are passed on, But the bond between a father and his sons, that's the one thing I can't afford to lose. Time was running out for all of them. And as the walls of Windsor Castle held their breath once again, one question lingered in the air. Would they find their way back to each other before it was too late? Prince William has always known that one day the crown would rest on his head, but he never imagined it would come so soon and with such weight. The revelation of King Charles's final wish hit him harder than he expected. This wasn't just about succession. It wasn't even about the reforms his father had planned. No, this was deeply personal. His father wanted reconciliation, not for politics, not for image, for family. William understood what was being asked of him, but he also knew what was at stake. The monarchy was already under pressure. Public trust was fragile. The world was watching every move, every word, every decision. And Harry's departure, the interviews, the memoirs, the distance, had already caused damage. His closest advisors urged caution. Some even warned against reaching out. They reminded him of the headlines, the betrayals, the pain that still lingered beneath the surface. One senior aide reportedly told him, "You have a duty to the institution first. Everything else comes after." But then there were others, quieter voices, more personal ones. Kate, ever the voice of reason, encouraged him to consider what it meant to be a brother, what it meant to honor a dying father's last request. She didn't push him toward forgiveness, only toward understanding. Because William now stood at a crossroads, not just as heir to the throne, but as a man caught between two worlds, the past and the future. Between loyalty and legacy, if he chose reconciliation, he risked softening the lines that defined royal duty. He might open the door to renewed public scrutiny, to questions about who truly represented the monarchy. But if he chose silence, if he let the rift remain unhealed, he would be making a different kind of statement, one that said the crown mattered more than blood. And in the quiet halls of Windsor, where history is written not just in law but in heartbreak, William knew this choice would define not just his reign, but the very soul of the monarchy itself. Would he reach across the divide, or would he walk away, like his brother already had? History has a way of repeating itself, not always in the same form, but in the same patterns. King Charles's final wish wasn't just about reconciliation, it was about survival, for his family and for the monarchy itself. He knows better than anyone that institutions don't crumble overnight. They weaken slowly, quietly, until one day they're no longer strong enough to hold. The rift between William and Harry isn't just personal. It's symbolic of a monarchy struggling to find its place in a world that questions its relevance. If the royal family can't stand together, how can it expect the public to stand behind it? Charles has spent decades preparing for kingship, only to realize he may not have long to lead. His decision to speed up the transition was bold, some say too bold. But he understood something many didn't. The monarchy must evolve or risk fading into history like so many others before it. William now faces a choice that will define not only his reign but the very future of the institution. Will he follow his father's wish and reach out to his brother, even if it means softening the lines of duty? Or will he draw a firm boundary, ensuring a streamlined modern monarchy built on clarity and control? Harry, watching from afar, must also decide what kind of role he wants to play, if any. His recent interviews suggest a longing for peace, for healing, for closure, but time is not on their side. And so, as Windsor Castle stands silent once more, the question remains. What happens next could determine whether the monarchy survives the 21st century. Because in the end, the crown may shine bright, but it rests on fragile human bonds, and if those bonds break, there may be nothing left to hold it all together.